Welcome back to Build Not Wished. This is Mind episode, and it's episode number 50. The divided mind is a dangerous place. You know, most people aren't losing the battle because they're weak. They're losing because they're fighting themselves. It's time to stop fighting yourself. You know, I've read this in ancient text, and it amazes me how things from antiquity can apply in the 21st century, but it can. And I did a video Saturday. It's on YouTube, and it was just a video. So it's only on YouTube. If you go to the YouTube Built Not Wish channel, you can find that there. Talking about a lot of neuroscience studies. And in some of the things I'm going to be talking about just briefly today, and I'm not going to be quoting the studies themselves. But I have felt this in my life numerous times, and some pretty recently. And I just want to talk about, have you ever been internally conflicted? I know I have. When I say internally conflicted, you know, when I know I want to do the right thing, but then I don't do it. That's internally conflicted. And I'm going to be real clear. You know what that does to your energy? It drains your energy. You know, I could also think about, I just found, okay, here's a real example, right? I just found, and I don't know what I'm going to do about it yet, so I thought about it really hard Friday night. I just discovered last Friday night that there's actually another podcast out there called Built Not Wished. Now, this podcast started in February of this year. The other podcast that I found, a young lady, and I've really not watched or listened to her episodes. She's only done 3, and they were all done this month, or in the month of May. So I was really conflicted. What do I do? And that can create stress, and that can create exhaustion. Because I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. Part of me says, okay, I didn't trademark the name yet. Not sure I'm going to. Well, I probably truly do need to. The other thought was, in 2025, I did a podcast for a year called Crusade with Me. I thought about just reverting back to that title with the same content that I'm currently doing, with mind, body, and spirit. And you can be on your own personal crusade. But indecision can be exhausting. And something my wife and I were just talking about, not that I don't take this like I'm telling on my wife. Because I've done this my fair share of times. I just can't think of an episode or a specific time. But overthinking is often a disguise. And overthinking is disguise for fear. And so when we overthink, we are trying to come up with every possible scenario and solution or rabbit hole to our problem. And what is that driven by? It's driven by fear. So then we just spend all of our time thinking. And then it leads to indecision and the exhaustion of indecision. And also being internally conflicted. You know, you cannot move forward while arguing with yourself. That's one thing I know. You know, we all have experienced and we know what cognitive dissonance is. How we think one thing here and then something polar opposite here, and we work at justifying both, right? And you know, when I'm talking about overthinking and indecision, exhaustion, then we come up with what it propagates is decision fatigue. I get tired of making all these decisions, right? Dear friends of ours just moved into their retirement lake house. God bless them. And Jay of the couple, the lady of the house, so to speak, they just moved in last weekend, or yes, Saturday or Friday night or Saturday, somewhere in there. And she was talking about to talk to my wife and just said she was so glad she's done making all of these decisions. And I've done this. Here's another thing that really can get into our minds. Have you ever experienced analysis paralysis? I could name numerous times at work where we are dealing with complex problems and things, and how do we track? And there's so much to track. And then we spend all of our time doing that and not working on, are we getting better? Are we making small improvements daily? It's analysis by paralysis. And here's the final thing that really gets me. And I don't know if you guys have this issue or not. I have a lot of stuff up here. And it's a lot of useless stuff. Mental clutter is what it really is. Mental clutter. Just taking up space. And I don't have that much to play with. So I really need to get rid of the mental clutter and try to focus on just a few things every day. And that's why I have episodes each week, one on mind, one on body, and one on spirit. And that's what I'm trying to regulate my life, because I'm talking to you out of experience. I'm not talking to you because I've got this all figured out and I have fixed myself completely. No, I'm on a journey, and I want all of you, if you're on that journey, that we can work together for all of us to succeed. You know, every day your mind casts a vote for the person you're becoming. So you have to convince your mind, what do I truly want to become? What am I truly working for? What's truly important? So here's a challenge. Write down who you want to become. Write it down in your own handwriting. And if you need to understand why, go to YouTube and watch on the Built Not Wish channel and watch the episode I dropped Saturday about writing things down and repetition, and why neuroscience has proven that it is very helpful to us. Not typing, writing it down, write it down. I happen to write quite a few things. But you know what? I have to practice what I preach. Write it down. Here's something else I want you to write down. I want you also to write down not only what you want to become, I also want you to write down who you refuse to be. Write it down. Look at it every day. Read both lines out loud every day this week. Because one thing I know for certain, you are built, not wished.